Okay, and now for our last talk of the session, we will hear about a verified implementation of SQL. It's okay. Yeah. It's good here. Yeah. Okay.
Hello, everyone. So I'm going to talk about one of the most famous DSL, which is SQL, and how to compile it to imperative code. So we built a certified compiler that takes a SQL select query in a large subset of SQL and produces imperative code with a JSON data model. And this compiler, as I said, is certified in using the code proof assistant. We also provide a backend which produces JavaScript code together with a runtime in order to be able to execute this code. This backend is not certified. So you may wonder why we want to certify something about SQL, since it's a very simple language that we teach to undergrad students. Actually, I have one example of something which may be unintuitive in SQL. So in this example, we have two relations, R and S. We only have one attribute of type integer. In R, there are two values, 1 and null, and in S, only one value, which is null. And we look at this query, which selects basically the elements from R, which are not in S. So I don't have time for you to think about the result, so I'm going to give it right now. We may think that 1 is not in S, okay, so it should be in the result, but actually the result is empty. Because when we try to see if 1 is different from null, the answer is not yes, the answer is unknown. Okay, we don't know if 1 is different from null, so we are not going to put it in the result. And similarly, when we ask if null is different from null, the answer is also unknown, so it won't be in the result. So this is one example of the difficulties that may arise in SQL. And actually, it's non-trivial to build a correct compiler for SQL. We made some experiments, and in one of the experiments, we used AlaSQL, which is a SQL interpreter in JavaScript, which is quite used since it has many stars on GitHub. And actually, it doesn't give the correct answer for this query. So we reported the bug almost 2 years ago. There are 4 people working on it, but it's still open because it appears to be very difficult to implement correctly nulls in SQL. So actually, instead of calling this language SQL, it may have been called SQL, because it's a language with a very subtle semantic, even for common features. So I talked about null and unknown values. You may think that you never use null, but actually it appears everywhere, since lots of databases come from spreadsheets. And if you have an empty cell in a spreadsheet, it's going to be a null value in the database. Another major difficulty of SQL is correlated queries. So I'm not going to talk about it because I don't have time, but it raises scoping issues. So our main result is a certified compiler from a large subset of SQL which handles nulls and correlated queries to an imperative language. So it's designed for in-memory database. Okay, it produces code that can be embedded into this language. And we also have certified query optimizations in the middle of the process. And we also provide, as I said, a JavaScript output and runtime in order to be able to run it. So I'm going to present in more details this compiler, but first I will show it on an example. So I take the same query that I've shown before. It's written in SQL. The first step of the compiler is to go to a language that we call SQL Coq, which is a Coq representation of SQL queries. And this step is simply decorating the query by giving names, explicit names to everything. So for instance, here we have from R. In SQL, SQL Coq, we force this R to give a new name. So we will say now this table is called T0 and the attribute is called X. Okay? And so on. So the same for table S. And then we have to put a bit more select on top of them in order to recover the names. But it's simply naming decorations. The next step is quite standard. It's going to relational algebra. So in this query, here, for instance, the internal from table R T0X is going to be this pi in the middle, and so on. The where clause is going to be a selection, and we have the top projection corresponding to this select. So why do I call it SQL Alg and not simply algebra? It's because it's actually an extension of the relational algebra in order to encompass SQL specific aspects like aggregates or null values. Then I'm going to simplify the examples and take only a very small part of it because otherwise it's going to be very huge on the slide. So I take only the internal projection. The next language is a nested relational algebra. So it's a language in which you can have tables of tables, okay? And in this case, the projection is simply going to become a map. So chi is a map operation on a table, and you can iterate. For instance, here you iterate the fact that you project on one attribute. And finally, and in this language, there are many query optimizations that are possible, so they are already implemented. So in this example, there is nothing to optimize, but we can run these optimizations if we want. And finally, we go to an imperative language. So in this query becomes a function that takes a database. So the blue part of the result is something which is always present. Okay, it's a function that takes a database. You give names to the tables that are in the database, and you create a new variable ret, which is going to be returned in the end. And in the meanwhile, the black part, it corresponds to the actual query and puts the result into red. So this works. This is the main picture of the compiler on an example. It's actually based on two previous works. The first one is the compiler from SQL Coq to SQL Alg, which has been designed in order to have a very precise semantics of SQLs with nulls and correlated queries. And the second work is the nested relational algebra with optimizations and with the compilation to another language, which I'm going to detail later. So these two works were already existing, and what we do is to bridge the gap between them and also to bridge the gap with standard SQL and a backend language. So our first contribution, I'm not going to say much about it, is embedding the translation between SQL and SQL Coq. As I said, it's not difficult, and it's also defined as a Coq plugin, so it can be run outside Coq and inside Coq. The two contributions I'm going to talk about is the bridge between SQL algebra and nested relational algebra and the backend. So let's start with the first major contribution. So, as I said, the SQL Alg is an extension of relational algebra with things that you find in SQL like grouping, aggregates, null values, and so on. And the NRA is a nested relational algebra, which doesn't know anything about nulls or correlations and so on. Okay, so I show some examples of the difficulties that may appear in this part. So we have seen that projection is mapped to is translated to a map. So this is quite standard. But if we look, for instance, at filters, it's not just translated as a filter. So here, the formula phi, big phi is translated as small phi. The internal query Q is translated as small q. But we have to add something here to reflect the fact that the scope is going to change. Okay, I won't have time to enter into the details. Another example, if now we know that the formula phi is y equals x, for instance, then the translation of this formula is not just y equals x. It's actually a bunch of things to reflect the fact that y or x may be null values, and so the equality may return unknown. So we go into three-value logic, for instance, that is reflected by the fact that we have left to represent value, actual values, and right to represent unknown values. So that's one difficulty. A second difficulty is to go from a stratified queries to nested queries. So in nested relational algebra, everything is at the same level, okay? And whereas in SQL, we have the main queries, which contains formulas, which contains expressions, and so on. So we had to reflect the fact that we have a stratification on one side, but only one thing on the other side. So it makes complex here the functions that translate to an array and the theorems to prove that these functions are correct, which needs to be really intricated. So to sum up the challenges, I've presented two of them, the SQL subtleties, the fact that we go from stratified to nested. Two other challenges that we made is the fact that in SQL Alg is defined with two layers, an abstract layer in which everything, we don't know how data and so on are represented, and the concrete layer, which is the executable part. So we had to cope with this and to first prove something in the abstract level and then make them concrete. And the other challenge is that this translation produces overhead. As I've shown here, you see that it becomes a very big formula, right? So we had to make sure that we don't have too much overhead. And actually, Coq is not just something to write proofs and then you are happy. It's a very nice tool to help in the design of the proofs. Because using it, we were able first to work at the level of specification and then implement the system with concrete objects. The second major contribution is from the nested relational algebra to an imperative language. So I'm going to give a bit of details about this. So it's also a compilation chain whose first step was already present in the original paper. So let me give a bit of details about all the languages. So we first go to a name-nested relational calculus. So I didn't say it, but in nested relational algebra, everything is defined using combinators instead of variables. So in NNRC, we are going to explicit variables and environments. That's the first step. The second step is to replace expressions with statements. Okay, you can see NNRC as a functional language with expressions, and we go to a more imperative language in which we have statements and return value. Then we go to another language in which we have only one single namespace. Okay, in the previous language, we had multiple variable namespace to separate things. And now we go to a single namespace language, which implies to remove possible shadowing between variables. Finally, we go to our imperative language. So the last functional feature that was remaining is pattern matching. So we remove pattern matching and replace it with conditional statements. But it's not the final step, because in all this chain, the data model is abstract, so it means that we can plug any data representation that we want. And this is the last step. We choose to implement a JSON data representation. So we use collection and records to represent, so we switch from collection and record, abstract collections and records to JSON. So in this work, in this part, the challenges, the first one I already said was to separate problems. Okay, we don't want to translate everything in one step. So we want to go first from functional to imperatives and to look at variables and so on. And the second challenge is the same as before. It may have overhead to do all this, but in this case, we made some preliminary experiments, and it shows that we have limited overhead. So, to sum up, the takeaway message, I hope I have convinced you that data management languages, and in particular SQL, are hard, so they require strong guarantees. And what we do in this work is to provide a certified compiler designed for in-memory databases. And it involves a translation from SQL to an optimizing algebra, which is non-trivial, and a combination of proof techniques that we used in the Code Proof Assistant. Our perspective, short-term perspective, are to add optimization in an error half in order to remove the overhead that was created by the translation from the relational algebra to the nested algebra, and to give to perform more benchmarks to concretely measure this overhead. So everything is open source and available online if you want to try it, and you can find more details in the paper, which, be careful, was published at UPSLA last year, not this year. Thank you.
Hello, this is Amir from the University of Edinburgh. So I have actually two questions. So I think one of the questions was kind of hidden somewhere. So you're using back semantics, not set semantics. Am I right?
Yes, it's back semantics.
Okay. The second question is that at which stage are you introducing hash table data structure? Because in nested relational algebra or nested relational calculus, you don't have explicit joins. So you have like nested loops, which are bad in terms of performance. So at any point of your pipeline, do you introduce the notion of hash tables to implement hash joins?
So no, we actually stay at the, we never go towards the nested loops and so on. So we stay at the level of algebra, and then we go to the imperative language, but we don't go to this lower parts that can be in which SQL can be computed.
Okay, yeah, because in comparison with then in-memory databases, if you don't implement hash join, the
Yes.
performance is going to be very bad. If
Yes,
you're
so the idea is to produce code that can be embedded and can be used in a programming language. So, for instance, we have a JavaScript backend, so you can directly run it in JavaScript if you want.
Okay.
It's it's another way to prove what you said. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so this ends our session, and it ends the first day of UPSLA. Let's thank our speakers again.